Hello and welcome, folks, to another edition of RSF Radio. I am your host, and I have a very special guest with me today to talk about all of the news that has hit between now and last week, because goddamn was there a lot of news. All of the news came at once. The news floodgates kind of opened up. So I decided to sit down with a friend of mine from unicorn.com. You might know him from there. Dustin Steiner. How you doing?
Hey, how are you, Joe? How's it going?
Man, it's do we do the thing where we talk about how it's very cold? Do we do that?
Oh, I mean, Sub-Zero has announced his reign over the Midwest. Yeah, I think that is accurate to say.
Man, it has been really brutal, especially for anyone. I mean, most of Canada is just, it's colder than I saw it was colder than the surface of Mars or something like that.
Wow.
And that's alarming.
That's pretty cold. That's as it turns out, that's not good. I saw a picture of some guy's toilet today that the tank had just had broken, and like the water was just frozen in a brick in the shape of the toilet.
And that frozen water will fuck you up. It expands. It's one of the few things that does that. It increases volume as it gets. But no, we're not here to talk about the properties of water or slipping on water thereof once it gets frozen in your back patio and hurting your groin very bad. We're not here to talk about that, even though that's something that may or may not have happened to me earlier this week.
Sorry to hear that, friend.
Ooh, man. Yeah, that's it was one of those things where even earlier that day I was like, man, for totally different reasons. I was like, I'm kind of getting old. And then I fell and audibly said out loud, ow, my groin. Like, kind of in like a monotonous tone. And I was like, oh boy, that's not a good look for anyone who could have been within earshot of that. That's not...
That's not ideal. Not ideal.
But before we get to the news of the day, because there is a lot of news of the week, really, I want to know more about Unicorn, because it's something that I've seen kind of on the aprons of the FGC in terms of esports, but would you want to kind of give me the breakdown of what that is? Also, by the way, it was one thing that I hadn't said out loud really until talking to you today, and in my mind I always said it as Unicron because I like Transformers.
Yeah, hey, you know what? If you want to call it Unicron, I think that's actually cooler than writing for a place that's called like a mythical horse, or like, you know, something that's worth investing in because it's a once in a lifetime thing. Don't ask me. Don't ask me. All right?
Oh man, the shades have been opened. I get it now.
Yeah. I think that was the idea.
Okay.
So like, yeah, but I don't know. Unicorn is kind of like evolved from what it initially was into like this multifaceted thing. Like, we've got so many different things running on the website, from esports betting to features where you can play various games, like just play ranked and bet on yourself. You know, whether or not you think you're just gonna beat whoever you end up queuing against. Like, it goes through your ranked history and kind of gives you odds, that kind of thing. We obviously do news. News is kind of like a third pillar to what we do, but that's where I come in. I'm the main writer for Unicorn. So
cool.
If you see a Unicorn article, you probably are reading my stuff, most likely.
Let me ask you this then. Have you done any articles recently on the work of Glenn the Game Twalk, the Game 2K, whose book was just released?
I have not recently. I know he's been working on that book for a long time, but yeah. I'm happy to hear that it's out. I definitely have to check it out.
It's good. I recommend digging into it. This is my one plug of that early on the show, because he was a guest 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, because I don't know how time works. And it's a good read. Like, it goes fast. It goes at a pretty quick clip. And it leads
for the listeners. Can you refresh everyone's memory on exactly what the book was about?
So man, this guy's podcast etiquette is fantastic. So it is about the basic season of Street Fighter V over the last year, and not just, I don't say just the CPT season, because there's other stuff in it as well. He covers some of the Gfinity series over there, and digs into those stats as well. But also covers just it is a thorough breakdown of the numbers in a lot of ways, more so than even just player matchups. It also gets into like is Cammy a strong character statistically speaking? It answers those questions.
That's something that the FGC I think is missing a lot of. One of the real tragedies I think of the past couple of years in the FGC is just how little we've seen of One Frame Link, and because they were kind of carrying the torch for stats in the FGC, and they sort of vanished. I think Nick over there got busy with his own personal life, but it's a shame. But he does. Glenn does great work as far as stats goes. I've followed him for a long time, and I think that there's probably not a better authority out there to write a book like this, for sure.
I was joking with him the other day after reading a couple chapters of it, and once the CPT was announced, kind of right after that, I said, if any major this year, if any premier event, any ranking event does losers semifinals, winners finals, losers finals, you will know for a fact that they did not read Glenn's book, or they don't care about the competition. It is one or the other.
Why do you think that's the case? What stat makes you think that?
There is a whole chapter dedicated to that early on,
okay.
And the chances of someone winning, it goes from basically it's not a 50-50 of if they do winners finals, losers semis, then losers finals, of the person who lost in winners finals will go on to lose their next match. Because if you do right from winners finals to losers finals, it was like they have a 1 in 4 shot of winning.
Oh wow, that's pretty crazy. Actually,
it gets really low for all of the events that ran it that way. It was a very low statistic, but on the other end of that, it was pretty close to a coin flip. Where if you had the other events run it that way, run it winners finals, losers semis, losers finals, if they had to run it that way, then I don't know, the numbers could have shook out maybe a little bit close to that, but it was a lot more even, or at least a lot fairer to the competitors, and it just made for a better competition overall. But the thing is, if you're taking bets, if someone's out there and someone runs their event
the other way,
bet against the guy who just lost in winners finals. Bet, I don't care who it is, bet against him. If people think that he's a good player.
If we ever offer Street Fighter odds again, we typically do it around Evo times, so keep that in mind for sure. If they happen to run it that way.
So that's just a little interesting tidbit, and that and many other facts can be found in that book, but that's not what we're here to talk about. That's kind of tangential to what Unicorn does, so I thought I would bring it up, and the work that you do as well. I could almost spin off here and talk about the world of like FGC coverage and esports coverage and what that landscape looks like today. I don't know if we have time to get into it, but if there's any kind of platitudes that you want to share other than it's fucking hard business out there.
It is definitely hard business out there. It's only gotten more cutthroat over the years. I don't know, many of you or some of you might remember me as I was the guy who ran Esports Max back in 2014, and I kind of helped innovate the whole concept of FGC like FGC coverage from an esports perspective that a lot of outlets kind of took and ran with after esports Max kind of went under. I think that I think the world of FGC coverage has gotten a lot better over the years. I feel like there are some journalists that really come into their own as FGC coverage people.
Right. I definitely agree with that. I think that there are great writers.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple I want to shout out. I think Virginia Glaze has gotten a lot better than or Ginny Lou, I guess, as she might be known in the FGC. She's gotten a lot better. I think that Ian Walker, I have not traditionally been kind about what he had to say when he was at Shoryuken, but I think he's gotten better now that he's at Kotaku and has some experienced editors to work with. Obviously, Bizarro Mike is now at Capcom, but he came up through FGC journalism. So, I think that those are three names that I would kind of shout out. Obviously, and Born Free is great. Chris Bond, if he ever decides to come back and write about the FGC again, obviously great guy. He has got a lot of really strong opinions. He's been around forever.
I think he's stuck to the camera though, which he does great work there too.
Oh no, he's back on the lens. It's great. I worked alongside him when he was writing at PvP Live. I think he did a really good job for us writing about the FGC. But I just wanted to give a shout out to those five people and hope they're all doing well.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it's tough when you exclusively do FGC work.
It is. It's really hard because it's if you're not a dedicated staff writer somewhere, just getting someone to buy your FGC stuff is really hard. You can ask freelancers like Amanda Stevens who goes through hell trying to get people to buy her FGC stuff every month and freelance and just make ends meet. I think that it's really hard, but obviously the fans enjoy it. I mean, the best way you can support these guys is either directly through things like Patreon or visiting their work whenever you see it, and maybe try and have your ad block off.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You bring up Amanda Stevens. She has Patreon. I know. Patrick Miller has a Patreon. He's also a good
absolutely.
Writer.
Yeah, he's it's kind of weird because he was gone from writing for a long time, and they just suddenly decided to turn on a Patreon. I love his stuff, so it's really good. He was kind of a big influence of mine, as I was starting out with recaps and stuff. Just reading his old Evo coverage, which was always fun to kind of take in.
Yeah, his perspective and form of writing, I find it. He's the only one kind of writing in that way. It's almost like a Zen way of being. Yeah,
it's very much he has a very good mailbag style of writing too. He'll he's talking directly to the person that asks him the question, but he's also talking to his readers, it's cool. So it's good to see. I hope he keeps up his series he's working on now, for sure.
Yeah. Again, I hope everyone's Patreon is successful. That's all I can hope for.
May your backers flood in after this podcast, please.
Yeah. But anyway, enough about that. We got some news. Let's talk about the Street Fighter League first and foremost. Because
absolutely.
Here's the weird thing that I didn't realize this until much later because news hadn't really reached the U.S. community, but the Japanese Street Fighter League had been a thing for a while now.
Yeah, I reported on it. It didn't really. I don't know why, but the Western fan base didn't seem to care that much. They're just oh, that's cool. Capcom's trying to put something on their investor deck saying, hey, look, we also have an official league for our game, Overwatch and blah, blah, blah. But, it has been a thing for a little while. It's been running for a season now, I think, in which really good recaps have come out about that since then. I can't remember the name of the gentleman who writes them. Who was it again? You told me about it.
That's Doc Fugu. So what had happened? So this is what you're talking about. It wasn't a season of specifically Street Fighter League. It was last year's Rage series, which is the same people who are running the Japanese Street Fighter League. But they've already done some stuff, and they're about to kick off this weekend of February 2nd is when things start. So when you are hearing this, get your ass over to OpenRec because it is now. But I don't want to talk about. I kind of don't want to talk about what is right now because the U.S. didn't hear about it at all, basically, until all of this information was translated by Doc Fugu, which we'll get into later. But the big announcement that had Twitter ablaze in hot takes was Street Fighter League US. Gut check on that. How you feeling?
So I think it's a good thing. I mean, honestly, I saw a lot of hot takes saying that they're trying to take the soul out of the FGC. You aren't going to see a lot of character specialists do well, because of the use of character bans. I think that having a weekly series like this just creates more content for people to watch. Traditionally, if you go on Twitch on any given day, you're going to see some Street Fighter streamers, but not many. And, if there's not a tournament going on, it's pretty dry. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there's a lot of really high produced streams other than tournaments in the FGC. And unfortunately, that's just what Twitch viewers are kind of getting used to at this point. Everybody and their mom has a stream that's super high produced, super high production value. They all, it's the sound quality is perfect. The gameplay is on point. There's so much competition for eyeballs. Mm-hmm. So I think that something like this that Capcom is trying to do and introduce this idea of teams and maybe not traditional esports teams you might think of, but still teams nonetheless. I think that it's something that people can kind of get behind and just kind of show their support of specific players, especially with the whole rising talent angle that you might get to see some people that maybe you don't get to see very much in big pro tour events. Yeah,
and I want to read the rules on that, but before I do, I kind of want to just touch upon just very, very briefly something that you said that I actually been thinking about a lot today for whatever reason. Is that the quality of streaming, the things that people can lay eyeballs on from a production standpoint, from extremely small teams, has been incredible. The production value for things that people are making on their own has increased so much. Even if just they have a little bit of money, say someone has I don't know how many subs they need to have a sustainable life. I haven't looked into that business model for themselves, but they've increased their production value. I mean, watch any of the major streamers on fucking Wednesday. And
watch go into Fortnite and look at what Ninja's doing, for example,
sure.
or any of these guys. Obviously they're making lots and lots of money now, but they weren't always, but their stream has always been pretty on point, no matter how many streams they've had people they've had. And I think that's something the FGC can kind of learn from. They just need to learn how to, I don't know, just up their production value and up their interaction with their chat. Someone I think does this really well is Justin Wong, or any of the Smash streamers. I think have done actually a better job at kind of building that community.
I think that part of it is that it's not just, and here's the other thing about that I think a lot of people get mixed up in their head, is that they see an incredible production like that and they think, oh, it's just that one person working in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And it's nah, dude, there's a lot of people doing work to make this thing happen. There's people doing art. There's people doing audio. There's people doing social media for them. It's the whole thing. It's not just them. So don't think in your head that you have to do things all on your own. You might have to grind a little bit to get there, but there's support there that you should probably start looking for once you reach if you feel like you're plateauing. But regardless, that's a whole other conversation that I only wanted to briefly touch upon before going back into the rules of the Street Fighter League USA, specifically Street Fighter League USA. They're not allowing Canada or LATAM in this, and there's a reason for that.
It's lag. That's why they don't want to have these people in there.
We will get into that as well. So how here's the breakdown: is that there'll be 6 teams, 3-on-3. There will be one player chosen from the CPT 2018 leaderboards, and that breaks down into NuckleDu, Justin Wong, Punk, Idom, Toy, and Nephew. None of them which are sponsored by any major teams, by the way.
Yeah, how convenient. It's almost as though they've been briefed by Capcom that major esports organizations want to sponsor these 3-on-3 teams. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's happened or anything, but
you can see that conversation happening.
I could totally see something like that. I could totally see Capcom approaching these teams and being like, "Hey, like, we're going to have this league thing. Do you want to be involved?" And you never know.
So anyway, one player is chosen from that. Then 6 other players are chosen from an online qualifiers, which there hasn't been information released about what that will entail. I imagine some kind of online tournaments, which those are always fun. I could go into that. Not going to go into that right now. I could lay the people's elbow on that. Not going to do it today. And then the third, here's like the other interesting, the third person on the team, the third group of 6 is from community voting. It just says community voting, and there's no real guidelines there. There's no suggestion. It suggests people who are kind of on the apron of like people who might be able to beat a top player, but might or are stuck to a region so they don't get to travel much. That's what is suggested in voting, but we'll get back to that. So that'll be your 3 teams. There'll be a round of team building. I imagine they'll do like a lottery system like Japan did. I don't know, but we'll see. There's like a draft that will happen. That will kick off in August of this year. Oh wait, no, that's season 2. They're going to start in April of this year. They're going to do a whole season. And then the finale of season 1 will take place in June. Then there will be a startup of the second season, taking those like 2 teams who did the best. They're going to pull them, roll them over in season 2. There'll be a whole other season going from August to November, and then there'll be the grand finals to the American Pro League in November. That's the main gist. It's a 3v3. I imagine it'll be 1 set per player.
Yeah, they haven't really
actually
broken
talked
down
about that yet.
Yeah, they haven't broken down exactly like, is it like one person stays on where you get like team kill situations? Like one person can take out the entire other team, or like crew battle style, or is it like, we just don't know.
We don't know that
exactly how it's all going to work. You'd think Capcom would have put out like a rule book or something, but Capcom being who they are, they like to keep things mysterious and let us kind of speculate and guess as to what's going on with this league until it actually starts.
So we don't know about that, but what we do know is that there will be a character ban, and oh Lord, me oh
everybody had a hot take about that. I think I even had a hot take about that.
I definitely had a hot take. My hot take was just that shit is hilarious to me. Like that is so funny because it's so far out there in terms of anything that the FGC would ever be used to of never banning a character, because there's like a whole history of like, you look at like the Viscant post of him talking to someone in esports league that was like, well, we got to ban these characters from Marvel too, and him saying, no, like, here's why you wouldn't.
With MLG.
Oh, yeah, it was MLG.
Yeah. Of course it was MLG.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Evergreen. So, like, you have, like, this whole history of the FGC specifically saying, well, no bans unless it's, like, Akuma, right? Super Turbo Akuma, where it's like, that's an actual cheat.
Yeah.
But, man, this was funny. But tell me why this might be a good thing, because you seem to be on this could be an interesting intake.
I think it's going to be just kind of an interesting thing. It'll make the Street Fighter League unique. I think it could actually encourage character diversity. It could encourage some people to pick up secondaries that they might not have done otherwise, if they're really serious about competing in this league anyway. I think that, the fact that each team has 3 players, like, yeah, you might be able to ban one specialist out, but you have to consider what the other 2 people play. The ban may not end up even mattering. Like, it could just be no one wants to play against Abigail, so Abigail just gets blanket banned all season. I don't know. So, like, there's a lot of, like, little interesting wrinkles and, like, kind of strategy that could be encouraged by the existence of a character ban. Obviously, like, now I know a lot of your listeners might say I'm biased because I come from other esports where bans are a thing. Like any MOBA out there has character bans and it works pretty well. Obviously, a lot more characters in MOBAs and a lot more players, but for what this is, I think that it's an interesting feature. It's not like they're going to start implementing character bans into the Pro Tour. So, like, I just think it will make the league kind of its own thing, and maybe have, like, I don't think it's going to replace CPT anytime soon, but maybe just have, like, its own type of prestige, like, kind of like, say, Co-op Cup in Japan. Like, it'll start just kind of gaining its own notoriety. We'll be able to build our own legends here in the States. So
that's an interesting angle, and I think what I want to dig into a little bit more, because you're right, it's not something that I don't know how my audience would take that, but it's certainly something that I don't know about. So in MOBAs, when someone does a character ban, are there character specialists where removing
absolutely.
one character completely gimps a team where they will need to recover?
I think, I think so. Like, maybe a couple years back, like, there were more what you would call one trick. Like, so that it was like someone that can only do one thing, and if that character is banned, like, they're kind of useless. That's where you get into the concept of a player having a deep hero pool. So, like, they're able to adapt to multiple situations, multiple bans, multiple compositions, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Obviously this isn't a team-based game, so, like, the whole, like, composition thing, like, unless your opponent is, like, extremely weak against rushdown or, like, zoning characters or whatever, if they're just known for not being able to deal with it, which I don't really think a lot of Street Fighter pros are known for being weak to one specific type of play. It's kind of rare anyway, once you get past, like, your mid-tier player. So I don't think that necessarily is going to be a thing, but it's mostly just, like, it tends to encourage character diversity in general. Like, that way you don't just see everybody using Cammy or everybody using Abigail or whatever. Like, that way, yeah. But like I said, in at least in MOBAs, the bans tend to just kind of encourage more strategy than anything else.
What I find interesting about that, and in my head, what I think about when I start forming these teams in my head, right? I look at all of those top 6 players, and granted, it hasn't been confirmed that it will be those top 6 players I named earlier: the Do, Justin Wong, Pop, Idom, Toy, and Nephew. It hasn't been said, but you look at Do, and it's like Guile or Mika. He has a player pool. You look at Justin. You have, Justin can play anybody. Like, Minot, Karen, doesn't matter. Punk, he also has a depth of characters. He could play Karen, Colleen. He's got that. IDOM, however, Laura main through and through. Toy, Bison main through and through. Nephew, Colleen main. I think he plays a little bit of Karen as well, but still mostly known for his Colleen. So do those three teams get hurt significantly, or do they need to adapt? But then I start thinking about, well, who would be secondary here? And I start thinking about who's won online tournaments before. Who do I think is right on the cusp? I'm like, okay, there's like El Chacate, and he's like, well, you just banned Mika there, and now he's useless. Mike Too Strong, you banned Zangief, now he's useless. Brian F might make it. You ban Balrog, who's his secondary.
Right.
Do you wanna see that? Do you want to see that secondary? Do they have a chance at that point when they're up against Justin's Minot or maybe Justin's Karen, who's still very strong? It's kind of one of those things where my gut check is, okay, it just kind of, in my mind, it thoroughly hurts one team over other teams. But in practice, will it happen that way? I don't know, because we're not there yet. We're not close enough to it for me to really have a good take on that yet. But my gut check says that it'll just play out the way that my gut says. It will be like, well, that team's done now, and they don't have a shot. But
yeah, the only thing with that though that I think maybe, like, a lot of people in the FGC aren't really remembering. Like, they're kind of, like, they're just taking it at face level, right? They're like, oh, it's going to hurt this one team. But guess what? That team also has a character ban. So they can do the same thing to the enemy team. And then it just comes down to, well, who won the online tournaments and who got voted in, and how well did they draft their team? Were they thinking about, oh, when I picked up this guy, he's a good character specialist, he's a great guy, I want him on my team? Or did he think about, this guy has a deep selection of characters to use to where he's not going to be a liability in the ban phase? I think, like, it's just another. It's different. It's just a different feel from a traditional tournament.
There's also an element to that where I think to myself, who is this for? Because the answer, in my mind, the answer is, this is not for FGC. And I've been saying this kind of for a while now, but I think there's a lot of room for growth of fighting games outside of the current FGC. I think that if the FGC exploded to something that is like actually huge esports, and we're pulling in like actual esports numbers, then that number would be, the number of existing FGC would be eclipsed by that, and it becomes something else entirely. Like, I think that that's a possibility at some point. I don't know if we're there right now, but let's say that something like this, that has that entertainment value of, there's a character ban, now there's drama, now there's a storyline, instead of the week-to-week ranking and following all the premieres, which is like tough, and also there's no FGC outlets really covering the week-to-week because again, it's hard to pay a bunch of writers to do all that every week. It's tough. But so you say, all right, so this stuff, we're going to produce this for people who aren't familiar with FGC stuff already. So then they actually have to know, when they produce this, they'll have to show in some way that IDOM's someone says character ban Laura for IDOM's team, and the significance of that has to be translated.
Stated. I think so.
It would need to be, unless, like, because in my mind, I think if they do this and they sell it and they promote it in places that aren't currently FGC, and they get a lot of viewers that say, oh, I remember Street Fighter, I would like to watch a competitive esports thing right now, what's this? And they have the IDOM team versus Punk's team, and Punk just says, obviously I'll ban Laura. And you see one person reacting, you go, the whole team's like, damn, like, obviously, shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's tough ban. It's tough ban there. If that's all they do, then it's like, that's a missed opportunity
that's
to tell
rough.
a storyline.
I think that, like, they have a big opportunity to tie in from the years that they've been producing the Pro Tour now to, like, go, oh, this is a big deal because he's a blank specialist, and he has, and then pull up like footage of him playing and like explain why that band might hurt the team, and like maybe talk about pocket characters they pulled out in other tournaments. I don't know. Like, I agree with you. I think it's a good opportunity for storylines. And like you said, I don't think this really is for the general FGC. I think this is more for, like you said, those kind of like people that will say tune into Evo every year, but they won't necessarily watch a premiere event. So they'll just be like, it's on Thursday nights, I think, right?
Yes.
So this will be just like people just happen to be browsing Twitch, not necessarily your general FGC heads that are there every weekend stream monstering, but like people that are just browsing Twitch, they see it promoted. I can't imagine this isn't done in some kind of huge partnership with Twitch where like it's on the front page and being promoted. So like, I really think this is just to kind of like capture that casual audience, and like people love the concept of teams, like just in general in esports. Like they love the idea of this guy is on this team that I can root for that team over time. And it's like a week to week thing, especially because it's a league, right? So you can have matchups repeat.
Totally works. Look at Gfinity. I think teams are great. I think the Dominican Republic Tigers have the fucking best logo treatment out there. It's so good.
Absolutely.
I think 3v3s specifically work. 5v5s work in the FGC.
Yeah, I agree. And like I think that like maybe what some people are afraid of is this being like an overly over corporatized thing, kind of like Overwatch League and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the production value will be good, but I don't think that it's going to be, there's advertisements all over it and like whatever. Even if there is, like, even if they do manage to get some, big sponsors and stuff behind it, that's only good for the players. Like, I get that you don't want to sit down and watch a lot of ads with your fighting game content because it's always been free and there's not a whole lot of sponsors, and that's great, but people got to eat too. That
doesn't make any money. Fuck me up with them ads, fam. Make me eat Cheez-Its. Make me eat those Cheez-Its. It's one of my best. That's like one of my favorite quotes from last year is PR Balrog saying, "I ate some Cheez-Its. I don't know why." It's like a choice quote from last year.
Seriously. So like, and it's kind of why like I'm kind of sad that like things like E-League, for example, weren't embraced a little bit more in the fighting game scene. I understand people had issues with Richard Lewis, some of which were unfounded, but I'm not going to get too into that because I don't really want to sit here and get into that whole can of worms with the FGC. But anyway, I think this could be a good thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that I think that this can reach an audience, but I don't think it is for and specifically that character band is just that one thing that is like very clearly, if you thought it was for you, guess what? It's kind of not, and here's why.
Yeah, but even like, here's the thing, like, and maybe this is just something that I can say to FGC fans. Like, not every event has to be the exact same event that you've always watched. Like, and you can argue with me all day on this, but like, I understand that every event has a different feel. Like, you go to the CEO versus going to Evo, it's going to be a different thing. But they all use the same type of event. Like, it's all double elimination, brackets, pools leading into top 128, 64, whatever. It's just the same kind of experience. I understand that's what people are used to, and they want that for competitive integrity, and I get all of that. But this is, you just go into it with an open mind. Understand that it's its own thing. It's not going to take away what you love. What you love is still going to be there.
Yeah, the
yes,
CPT
Capcom
will exist.
Yeah, yes, Capcom will be putting some resources into this, but I don't think that those were resources that were going to go into the Pro Tour. I think it has its own budget. I think it was its own project that was approved. So like I think that people just kind of need to, like, if you don't like it, don't watch it, but like maybe just give it a chance. I think that's the biggest thing that I want people to kind of take away from this conversation. Maybe just like maybe have some thoughts on like what, start talking about band strategies, start talking about and theorizing about what teams you'd like to see. Start like, community vote. Like it's probably, if I had to guess, they're probably going to run it something like Smash Summit. Start encouraging your favorite player to like kind of get out there in front of the public more, to start,
here's
campaigning
my
for
take,
that.
because we haven't really talked about community vote all that often. And I don't really want to talk about online tournaments right now. I actually think I could do a whole episode on the treatment of online tournaments within the CPT, and specifically how they are matched. They're supposed to be treated as ranking events, but get like almost a fraction of a single % of the resources that are given to actual ranking events. And it's like, how could you even think that's going to be successful? But anyway, I digress. Let's talk about this voting issue, because I didn't think about this until today, because there are no guidelines. But what is preventing us from saying, I want to vote. When I go in to vote, I go to capcom.com/vote/user/vote.
Some URL, yes.
Some URL, and I enter in the name Jamie Lee Curtis. Can I run a campaign? I have a large platform on our Street Fighter. There's a lot of people who go there. What if I tell them, hey, everybody, let's all vote for Jamie Lee Curtis. Let's get her in here.
Listen, I would like to see her cameo, okay? I've never seen her play.
That's a fact. Yeah. She has gone on interview to say that. That's a fact.
She gets really mad if you tell her, like, who do you use, like Ryu? She's like, no, fuck that, use Cammy. Like,
fuck
damn,
that scrub shit.
Yeah, seriously. I'm like, damn, someone's been watching fucking. She's been a stream monster for years. We just didn't know it.
No, you bring up that interview. I actually love that interview, because specifically that interview brings up kind of an awkward question where he's a younger kid and he's like, oh, you kind of did a horny scene in that one movie, and it kind of, that one really turned me, and she handles it like a pro, and she's like, oh yes, that was a long time ago. That was a wonderful movie. Like, I'm glad you have that memory. She's a total pro about it. And then he suggests that she would be a Ryu main, and she's like, get real. I pick a top tier. Like, get the fuck out of here, you scrub. Like, it turns. She's like, no longer professional. The FGC comes out of her. So I want everybody to vote in Jamie Lee Curtis. Here's my petition. Let's get, so rule sets haven't been decided in terms of who we can vote for yet. If there is a writing component, let's pull in some celebrities.
That would be pretty funny. But like, I don't know. I think, if I remember right, the way Smash Summit did it was a player could go on Smash GG and elect themselves. They would say, yes, I want to be eligible. And then they are in the first round of voting. And then like the top, whatever, the bottom people get eliminated over time. And then you end up with your six people. So
I know Jamie Lee Curtis has a Smash GG account because she's been to EVO. She's got it all lined up. We just need to get her there. We need to walk her to the door and say, "Here it is. We will vote for you."
Just like tweet at her and be like, "Hey, like you should elect yourself for this. It would be funny."
Every day. I think that Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays Street Fighter. I think he does. Who else could we?
There's like a whole bunch of football players who play Street Fighter. Like, got to get some Juju Schuster in there. Like, come on now. Like, I mean, there's a whole bunch of people. You can get
like your Austin Creeds. Like, obviously, we can pull from the wrestling side.
That would be pretty fun.
A Kenny Omega on your team,
like Kenny Omega and Xavier Woods. That would be, oh man, perfect.
if they had time in their schedule to come back every Thursday to shoot, no, that would be an impossibility.
That's the other thing. We don't know how this is being. Is it all in one location or is it online?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
America's big country, dude.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, are they going to move? Are they going to move everybody to Vegas for a little while and shoot this thing at Esports Arena every Thursday? Because I could see it happening, but I don't know. I mean, it's not like MGM has any shortage of hotel rooms in the area. So, like, you know, who knows who they're going to partner with Esports Arena on this or what? Like, they just don't. They haven't released enough information.
My hope
like, that's my biggest thing.
My actual hope would be that they take a long weekend early in, because it starts in April.
Mm-hmm.
Take a long weekend, get all of it. Get all of the tournament.
Just shoot the whole thing.
Shoot the whole thing. Release it week by week. Post production, the whole thing.
Don't you think that, like,
give me the stats on people's secondaries. Get that information. Pull it out of us. Show it to us.
I agree, but like, don't you think a lot of, like, I don't know. Personally, having worked in a couple of different scenes, like, for example, let's say the Hearthstone scene, they get really upset when it's not live. And like you treat it like it is live. Like, I don't know. And here's the other thing: people in the FGC have big mouths. So like, how do you stop people from saying who won? Like, it's gonna leak with that many players. So you've got 3 players in each team, 16, 18 players. I don't know, man. Especially if like some of these guys aren't exactly like trained professionals like the guys on the top 6 are. I don't know players. I don't want to speak for everybody on that list, but at least half of them have been on a major esports team and understand how NDAs work.
Right.
But you know, maybe some of these popular vote or online warriors don't know all that stuff. So, it's gonna be a thing, man. I mean, I think personally, like, they're probably better off just partnering with someone and doing it that way. But I mean, that is a huge time commitment too. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the likely case, is that they. Actually, here's where this all ties in. Esports Arena just got that merger with the World Poker Tour.
With the World Poker Tour, yeah.
That's all in Vegas. Capcom goes into Vegas, partners up with ESA. ESA produces the whole thing.
They already partnered with them for Capcom Cup last year. What's stopping them from like using that as a jumping off?
That makes perfect sense. It's already a business. Like, they've already been in bed with each other. Let's just get to fucking. I'm down for it. Okay, I think that unless you have any other takes or any other directions with this you want to go, I think we can transition into the SFL Japan, which is now. Sure.
No, I don't really have any other takes. I like I said, biggest thing I want people to take away from our conversation is just give it a chance. I understand it's different, but just kind of go into it with an open mind. Watch a couple of the broadcasts. If you don't like it, maybe recommend it to some people that have always been on the fence about watching FGC stuff, and just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah. Show it to people who don't watch FGC stuff. Show it to Jamie Lee Curtis. Get it out there, because she needs to know. That's my platform in 2019.
Okay.
But
listen, I'm on board with this. I think Jamie Lee Curtis would be an excellent addition to the Street Fighter League, and I think it would certainly whoever drafts Jamie Lee Curtis, it gets like bonus points just for having Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, they win, right?
I bring up celebrities, right? Let's vote in some celebrities, because specifically, that's exactly what they did with Street Fighter League Japan.
Okay.
Street Fighter League Japan it's also a 3v3 tournament, but they're doing things a little bit different. There's a beginner class, which was a whole tournament series selected by like a game show, basically. And it had like models, actors, voice actors, comedians. It was a whole slew of people. And there was a whole write-up on that. all of this covered by like Doc Fugu. I'll share the link, and it has all of the links. It's so much to read. He did such a good job of translating this and translating like the mood of things as well, or how Twitch chat was responding to it. It's a great read. I highly suggest it. So there's a beginner class. There's a high class, which is selected or was selected by tryouts. And then an expert class, which was basically the same people who were leaders from the Rage tournament last year. Which
so I think you had like Daigo and people like that, right? Yeah,
it's Daigo, Tokido, Mago, who was not a leader from last year. Daigo, Tokido, Mago, Nemo, Itazan, and who's the sixth one? Am I forgetting?
I don't know. You'll have to tell me.
Why am I blanking? Hold on. Let me just click this link. But anyway, they've gone through. They've selected their draft.
Oh, it's Tokido.
Did I not name Tokido?
You didn't name Tokido.
Well, Fudo. Fudo is the one I didn't name.
No,
anyway,
my bad.
That's okay. I got crisscross applesauce there. It's no big deal. So they've selected their teams, but how it works is that it's not a 3v3 in the sense of, each player plays, one time and until they're out. It's not like we're used to when we talk about 3v3s. Instead, extreme class plays extreme class, high class plays high class, beginner class plays beginner class. And that's it. You get 1 point if your beginner wins, 2 points if your high class wins, and 3 points if your extreme class wins. So that's
pretty unique.
Yeah, there's like a points distribution and also a skill distribution that I think makes sense when you talk about team composition. And it also puts the coaches in the extreme class in the position of, it benefits me to really put in work on, maybe I just want to focus on my beginner so we can get that 1 extra point because I feel confident in my ability to win. So we'll get 4 points this week, and that's a general net positive. And if our high class person wins, then there's discussion and like teaching to be done. I see that path, right? And that's a fun thing. There's also a special rule where there's a really bad translation that if you go to the rules page, it says this will begins the time of crying. And it's basically that if your team gets...
I can see them saying that on the air too. That's amazing.
Yeah, because it seems like it's a fun thing. There's a lot of people having fun. There's like hosts, the whole thing. There's a very good bit about Tokido talking about his team composition from last year's Rage tournament and how he had to make compromises, and then you have Mago standing there like, wait a minute, I was your third person, you made a compromise, what was your compromise? And he's like, well, trying to avoid the question, and Mago's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm right here. And that's all very good, but if your team gets swept, your team then has the chance. Your beginner can play against the extreme class, and if they take 1 round, then your losing team gets 3 points. Or if your high class player wins a set, then you get 3 points. So it's like a weird game show.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. I like it though. That's an interesting twist. I don't think they'll do that here in the States, but
I don't think they will.
I think for Japan it works really well. Because they have a culture over there of where game shows and such are super 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 popular with all age demographics. Whereas here it's not so much anymore. So I think that kind of fits in with their culture a little bit more. So. Yeah, but I think it's fun. It's definitely fun.
Yeah, it's very much a game show, but also it's very short. It's going from right now in February, till the end of March. So,
are they doing a second season, or is that it?
That's all the information that they have for it right now. So all we know is that this will just be from February to March, and that'll be it.
Okay.
So I think that's just how they'll do their production, or Rage will do the production, because Rage is doing it, because it's basically the same thing, same treatment from last year. A lot of the same colors for the teams are the same, like the Aurora color, which is like a fun. I don't think it's fun. Their trailer, it has the same kind of thing from last year. It's all but again, it's all very game show like, and I think that there's that fun element to it, and that element of it benefits the extreme class players, the pros, to teach the younger, or that's the other thing. High class is actually a lot of younger players. I think the oldest one's like 22 or something, and the youngest is 16.
That makes sense. So they're kind of doing the whole God, I forget what it's called now. The thing that Choco Blanca and Momochi were doing.
Shinobism.
Yeah, exactly. So they're kind of using that concept as like inspiration almost, like teaching a younger generation how to play. I think that's cool. And this is interesting. It's something I just kind of thought of. It seems like the Japan rule set is kind of accomplishing the goal of the America rule set more. Like the whole marketing it to casual players more than your like serious competitive fans. But it's weird. You'd think it would be the other way around, but I guess not. And I kind of get it. Like Capcom USA wants to grow Street Fighters and esport more than Japan does, I think. So even though Japan has pro licenses and we don't, but whatever.
Yeah,
that's
I guess
different thing.
I think that's part of it too, because there is prize money on the line, which is an interesting thing. I have the number. The number's in there, but they're giving out something around it was like $60,000.
That's pretty high for the Japanese rule set, right?
No, I'm sorry. It's $45,000 over, dispersed from first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth place.
That's a lot for a Japanese tournament.
Yeah, that's that's a ton of money. I mean, split between three people, but even so, that's for Japan, for people who don't have JSU license, because the high class and beginner class don't have JSU licenses. But
do they get JSU licenses as part of winning? Usually, I've seen that in a couple tournaments over there.
That has been a thing in the past for other tournaments. That is not the case in this one.
Okay. It would be interesting to see if JSU is integrated with this somehow. If the extreme class players have to be JSU licensed or something.
That is the case, but I can't remember. It was brought up somewhere in this write-up, but this is a long write-up. I'll give you guys the link in the show notes. But thank you, Doc Fugu, for being the only person bringing this over here. This is awesome. This is such a long write-up on, hey, what is this thing? What is the feeling of the chat during this thing? What are they actually talking about? At one point, Daigo shambles into a conversation, is oh yeah, I'm not really used to training people, but then they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? You trained that dude for the Kimono Michi. What the fuck are you even talking about, Daigo? The chat blows up on
he's like, oh yeah. I forgot I did that.
Yeah, in all honesty, it's just to me that sounds like typical Daigo, but
yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
So that seems like a fun thing, and almost when I hear about that and I read all of that, I was like, man, I kind of wish that the US SFL was a little bit more like that, because that seems to appeal to a much more casual audience, specifically with the beginner class. And
I really feel like Capcom USA has they just really want to grow Street Fighter as an esport, and they want it to be taken seriously by esports fans. And I feel like that's who this is marketed at. This is marketed at yes, the general public, but it's also marketed at the general esports fan who likes fighting games but doesn't like how hard the Pro Tour is to follow and wants something else to watch. So whereas this one, the Japan rule set is more marketed at, this might be able to be shown on network television and be entertaining to the random person watching.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, I think that we've kind of wrung out that comparison and at least tried to bring more light to it, because again, I didn't know this thing existed until this week, and it was like blowing my mind that it was like, oh no, that's about to start. Like, buckle up.
I mean, like I knew about it, but like I didn't know any specifics until I read the
because it's hard. It's not being marketed to the U.S. at all.
Yeah,
anywhere.
Whereas I'm sure Japanese fans are going to watch SFL USA because they watch everything anyway. So
yeah, and specifically, there happens to be a lot of tournaments in the Pro League in the North American region, which we can talk about now because CPT schedule has been released for 2019.
Yeah, I mean, now that it has the right dates and whatnot.
Right.
Oops.
Right. Well, I mean, what do you?
I'm joking. It happens.
It's what do you expect, man? Like,
yeah,
they heard the gun, they just fell out of the stumbling blocks. Like,
yeah,
it happens, man.
I mean, their esports department isn't that big, so I get it. It happens. It happens.
Every time. But regardless of how launches happen with Capcom fighting game products, the schedule was announced. The changes to the season were somewhat laid bare, I want to say. It's not all there because the details aren't there.
Okay.
Specifically, and we can get into it. So there's a change. There's a big change in terms of points. Point systems have been kind of shifted around. So ranking events, if you place in top 3, those got a boost. They introduced a new Super Premier that is somewhat based on the Evo structure, but nerfed in points. I think last year,
it nerfed Evo as well as a result.
Yeah, because now there's 3 Super Premiers, 2 in North America and 1 in the Asia region. We know that Evo is one of the Super Premiers, but we don't know. Didn't it say the North America regional finals? Yeah, it's the regional finals. Which to that I say, I think we can pretty much safely assume it'll be whatever Red Bull. Proving Grounds,
it's going to be.
Yeah, Proving Grounds, Conquest, whatever the fuck they call their next thing, Inquisition, Red Bull Inquisition.
Red Bull Armageddon. What are we getting into Mortal Kombat titles now?
Red Bull Armageddon's not a bad idea. That's not a bad name.
Red Bull Deadly Alliance.
Red Bull Deadly. Red Bull Sugar-Free Deadly Alliance, because that tastes way better. We can all agree. At least that's my opinion. But so like it'll be whatever that is in November. But also it'll be the regional finals in Japan, which that event hasn't been announced either. Don't necessarily know what that'll be yet. It's out there. But they shook it up a little bit. There's premieres in Latin America. There's regional finals in that was First Attack in in the Dominican Republic. No. Puerto Rico. The fuck am I talking about? I'm getting all mixed up.
It's okay. It's late. It's like 1:15
I know.
your time.
It's 1:00 where I am right now, folks.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's just my fucking life, man. I took a nap earlier, so to deal with it. But yeah, man. So if I misspeak, that's why, folks. So that's awesome. Shouts to Mono PR for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got a lot more ranking events in Latin America, which I think is good. The EU got more events. There's I think 3 premieres in London. Or at least
I would honestly, I like the layout of events they did this year. Mm-hmm. I think the only change I would have made is not having the North America regional finals be a super premiere and making it DreamHack winner or something like that.
Yeah.
like where it's like a big event in EU, or like, you know, like one of the UK tournaments or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like have that be a super premiere and like really get like encourage international competition overseas that isn't a region called Japan or USA.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm with you on that. I feel like that's kind of been everyone's take on this, is that that's the one thing where it's like, well, do we need to? There's already so many opportunities to travel within the U.S. And granted, like, the U.S. is a big country, but traveling within it isn't necessarily that difficult or that expensive versus a lot of people coming from the EU to the U.S. because there are so many events over here. It just the way that people have to travel gets a little mixed. Like, is it?
It gets dumb. Like there's more points available in the U.S. obviously as always. It's just because I mean the people running CPT it's Capcom USA, so of course they're going to focus on their home region. But like the number of events feels pretty balanced if you include the online stuff.
I think so too.
Like if you include the online stuff and discount the supers, like I think that like in terms of premier ranking and online, you've got 14 for NA, 13 for LATAM, 13 for EU, and 13 for Asia. I think that's all far like huge improvement on opportunities available to people in other regions that you know that don't get to travel to the U.S. I think, you know, we will see someone from the EU and LATAM both make Pro Tour finals this year. Asia always is going to have, you know, good representation, and NA is, because of the number of events here, has always had great representation, regardless of the strength of the region. I think that obviously we've gotten better over time. Like, you know, Japan's not the unstoppable, you know, or Asia in general isn't the unstoppable beast that it was back in Street Fighter 4, obviously, but you know, I think that like we're still kind of like on this point where if we didn't have as many events here and there were more in Japan, like maybe it would be, the distribution would be a little different, but still. I think it's pretty good. Like, and as far as like other rule changes go, like I don't think that were there a lot of other rule changes this year. Or is it mostly the points? Yeah, it's same as always.
There were. Man, I have to actually like get back into it. This is where I'm getting fuzzy, where, or at least how the ranking, what am I talking about? Ranking, the national, regional finals. Man, I cannot speak. I'm losing it. I'm losing it, my guy. I'm running out of fuel. But the regional finals work a little bit differently. But even still, the winner of that from each region will be sent to Capcom Cup. Like, all of that stuff is all the same. Gotcha-kun is guaranteed his spot. So all that stuff works out pretty much the same. It all shakes out the same way it'll work out last year. So hopefully we can get a little bit of that stat tracking this year. Maybe we can get that like pretty quickly
would be nice to see Capcom try a little bit with in regards to
something official, and not having to rely on like. I remember just like following Ace King Offsuit's Twitter account being like, hey, so like what is the actual play, like who is getting in and who needs to lose here, and being like, well, this needs to happen, and he was the only person who really had that information. I couldn't find it anywhere, or else I'd have to do the math myself, and math is hard, dude. It's not easy.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I think that basically covers it. I'm pretty happy with this schedule. I think that they're giving ranking events to places that that weren't previously represented. I think LATAM gets the love that I think it deserves. Certainly, I think we're going to see a lot more players from that region in the CPT. The interesting thing again is that they're more online ranking events, and ranking events again got boosted in terms of points. Will they give love to those ranking events, or will they be run like they were last year, where people just in top 8 just don't compete or get DQ'd because of how the internet works. There are ways to prevent that, but you got to do your fucking homework. So maybe they should do their fucking homework. Anyway, that's my take on that. But I'm generally positive on it, and I think that a lot of people are pretty excited.
I mean, like I think that they've been refining the format on the Pro Tour since they started it in 2014. Or I think that they've finally had enough time to like really nail it down. These point differences are obviously going to create some changes, and it's going to make super premieres like super important for everybody to go to. And less premier events means that teams have to pay for maybe less travel, and more ranking events might offer some more local diversity. But I think a lot of players are going to be traveling a lot this year. I've already seen like Alex Myers, Justin Wong both tweet out their schedules for this year. It looks pretty intense. Hopefully player burnout doesn't become a thing. But
and I'm hoping to see some storylines this year. I want to follow the CPT, not just this every week being like, what the fuck is even happening? Who is what matters here? But anyway, folks, I think that is a show. I think that covers the meat and potatoes this week. But let's get to some of these delicious sides. I have some sides prepared for you, and these sides come in the form of delicious questions. It's a question that I ask everyone on their first time when they come on the show. I think it tells a lot about a player or a viewer as to what they look for in fighting games. So I'll ask you these two questions. Question number 1. What is your favorite normal attack in any fighting game?
Okay. I think... God, people are going to hate me for saying this. Crouching medium kick from Ryu in Street Fighter V.
That's a good question. That's a good answer. Sorry, man, I'm mixed.
Yeah, it links into pretty much everything. It's a great spacing tool. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's the all-purpose kind of tool. It's a good poke in general. It just historically has been a good poke as well. It's just there's some history behind that normal, and I'm in agreement with you. It's a good answer on that one. But now the second question, leading into that, what is your favorite combo in any fighting game?
Oh man, I don't know. This is such a hard question, to be honest. I saw this further down on your document before we even got to it, and I don't even know how I was going to answer it. But and I'll probably get some shit for this because this is a Street Fighter podcast. But I don't know. There's something about watching the Ken combo in Melee that I really like watching. And people are gonna hate me for that. Because I know that people in Street Fighter tend to not really like Smash all that much, but that's my favorite combo to watch.
Smash is fine, whatever. But explain the combo though. What exactly is what's the meat and potatoes of this combo?
So I'm not really great at explaining it, but basically it's it's a couple of good reads and pokes that ends up leaving someone off the stage and ends with a kind of a downward spike with Marth. So basically whenever someone gets hit by the Ken combo, it's the epitome of get wrecked in Melee. If they get hit by it, there's no recovering from it. That's just it.
They're toast.
They're toast. Yeah.
But it comes from from what I've learned about
it comes from a specific player. Ken from he was on Team Liquid for a while. He's one of the legendary players from the mid 2000s who kind of innovated a lot of Melee's combo based play. So
that's cool.
So he's it's an iconic combo and probably the one that came to mind. I mean, other than obviously stuff everybody's seen Moment 37 and whatever.
Right.
So
and this setup from this combo. So here's the thing so I've been playing Ultimate a little bit just like on the side.
All right.
Because they're like, I've played the Smash games. Fine. Everyone has.
Yeah, nothing
used
wrong
to
with
be
that.
a Donkey Kong. When I'm playing with my high school friends, I'm a Donkey Kong main. They don't let me play Donkey Kong anymore, so I'm like, all right, whatever. Okay. I'm a Wii Fit trainer main because that's hilarious. The Wii Fit trainer is in this video game, but I didn't really like start looking into competitive stuff until this year, and I've learned a lot about like how people set up combos or the Oki, the way that what I would consider Oki in a traditional fighting game, the way that it works in Smash is very interesting. It's very fluid. So I can imagine someone setting up a combo in a very specific way or chasing someone down to
it's a lot of mind games, right? Yeah. Like you have to make them think that you're gonna go for something else, and like you force them to react in a certain way, and then you're like, "Oh, gotcha! I wanted that." So then
it leaves them completely compromised, and then they're off the screen, and you're spiking them down in the stage.
Yep. Exactly.
That part, like when I see that, I go, "Oh, okay, I get it." I can't do it, or I don't know if I care to, but I do like the way the Wii Fit trainer spikes that ball. I don't know why, just like it. Anyway, folks, that's a show. I will do my downward dog into bed and face plant directly into a pillow because I'm going to plank my way into under the sheets because, man, I'm donezo, folks.
Don't
even apologize. Don't even apologize because I'm going to thank you right now. Thank you for spending the time talking to me this weekend. It was really nice to get someone else's opinion that might not have been so adamantly against or gutturally against what the SFL is. By the way, we didn't even talk about this. God damn it. Okay. Just thumbs up, thumbs down. That logo, though.
Oh, God. I really hope they redo it. Thumbs down.
It's fucking
I don't like
trash. It's a trash heap of a logo.
Dude, I'm sorry. Mike, please, Bizarre Mike, please, do not hate me, okay? But it looks like you went on Fiverr and found the first guy that could do it in 5 minutes.
No, here's my thing, and here's why I think that I know that Mike made it. So things that I know about Michael, he loves Sonic. When I see that
it does look like goddamn Sonic.
All I think of is Sonic in a flame shield doing a dash. Think about it. When you look at that logo, it's supposed to look like
that's Hadouken. All I'm gonna be able to see now.
That's a Sonic with a flame shield, dude. That's Sonic. We've been incepted. We've been incepted into the Sonic verse. Put Big the Cat in Street Fighter 6. Put Big the Cat in Street Fighter season 4. Big the Cat, he's coming, folks. Oh Lord, he coming. Oh Lord, he coming.
Oh, he's bringing that fishing rod, dude. You think you only see fishing rods in Smash Ultimate at this about? Oh no, Big the Cat's got a big rod coming for you, buddy.
It's gonna be like those. He's gonna be a grappler with range. Oh, he's so good. Trust me, I've seen it. X-Kira told me all about it, folks. He told me all about it, so you know it's true.
Oh no, X-Kira. Oh, that's a whole another episode.
No, it isn't. It's just a list of me saying that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen. Are you guys fucking seeing this? Come on. That's all that show would turn out to be. But thank you for for sticking around for talking about the SFL and sharing your opinion, talking about Unicorn, because that's something that I think could get a little more coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. Again. Happy to be here. You guys can follow me on Twitter at GetSteinered. I know some of you still might, even though I don't really cover FGC as much as I used to, but I'm still around. I'm still kicking. So I'm hoping to do some more FGC coverage in the coming months. And hopefully I'll see you guys in an event soon.
Yeah, don't we all wish there was more FGC coverage. All right, folks, that's a show. Again, you can find me at Super Joe Monday or at RedditSF on Twitter. But that's a show. Catch us every Thursday, although this one might end up being Friday for some people. West Coast, there's still a chance. But that's the show, folks. Don't forget to catch the tournaments on Mondays and Fridays and catch the pod every Thursday. But I will see you guys on our Street Fighter. Until next time, folks, take care.